Your Daily 180, 180 seconds of pure Bible study.
Welcome to this, your Daily 180 Bible study. We're honored that you've joined us today. We're in the midst of a study on the book of James, and specifically this week we're talking about understanding temptation. Yesterday we began by looking at James chapter 1, verses 13, 14, and 15. Let's back up. Let's look at verse 13. It says, "Let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God." And yesterday we looked at the fact that God is not in the business of trying to entice people to sin. He will allow people to be tested, and it makes us stronger, and we prove that we can withstand the test, but He's not in the business of trying to make people sin. But then the verse goes on and says that, for God cannot be tempted by evil. Now this demands the question as well, wait a minute. It says God cannot be tempted, but I thought Jesus was tempted. Well, that's exactly right, but there's something we need to understand about Jesus. In John chapter 1, verse number 1, we read, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Now, if you're not familiar with the passage, it might be helpful to drop down to verse number 14. And in verse number 14, we read, "And the Word became flesh." The Word represents an individual. "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld His glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth." That's talking about Jesus. So one of the things that we need to understand about Jesus is, yes, He was deity. He was God the Son, but He was also man. As a matter of fact, He is that strange one-time combination, 100% man, 100% God. And His humanity allowed Him to be tempted. Now, that's really good news for us, because Hebrews chapter 4 and verse number 15 is an extremely encouraging passage to us, because Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 15 tells us, "For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weakness." He understands. Why is it that He understands? "But was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin." Isn't that exciting? Whatever it is you're going through, Jesus understands. He may have not faced the particular set of circumstances that you're going through, but in some way His temptation matches the temptations that you're going through. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk more about that in an upcoming lesson. But Jesus understands. Now, is it true that God cannot be tempted? Absolutely. But Jesus was not just a man. He was a God-man. Join us again tomorrow for your Daily 180.